Welcome to the Hall of Fame in Education. Are you familiar with these people? They aren't actors of any Hollywood movies, nor of any series available on Netflix. But certainly, they are famous. They are prominent in the field of education, and if you are an educator, you've surely encountered them. In this video, you will get to know better the educational theorists and their theories. First on the list is Jean Piaget. Jean Piaget is a Swiss psychologist who proposed the cognitive development theory. Piaget's theory of cognitive development explains how a child constructs a mental model of the world. He disagreed with the idea that intelligence was a fixed trait, and regarded cognitive development as a process which occurs due to biological maturation and interaction with the environment. There are three basic components to Piaget's cognitive theory. First is the schema. Schemas refer to building blocks of knowledge. Second is the adaptation processes which enable the transition from one stage to another. This includes the equilibrium, assimilation, and accommodation. Third is the stages of cognitive development. There are 4 stages of cognitive development. Sensoromotor stage, from birth to 2 years. Pre-operational stage, at ages 2 to 7. Concrete operational stage, at ages 7 to 11. And formal operational stage, at ages 12 and up. Let's discuss briefly each stage of cognitive development. First is the sensoromotor stage. The main achievement during this stage is object permanence, knowing that an object still exists even if it is hidden. It requires the ability to form a mental representation of the object. Second is the pre-operational stage. During this stage, young children can think about things symbolically. This is the ability to make one thing, a word or an object, stand for something other than itself. Thinking is still egocentric and the infant has difficulty taking the viewpoint of others. Third is the concrete operational stage. Piaget considered the concrete stage a major turning point in the child's cognitive development because it marks the beginning of logical or operational thought. Children can conserve number, mass, and weight. And the fourth stage is the formal operational stage. During this stage, people develop the ability to think about abstract concepts, and logically test hypotheses. Another famous theorist is Lev Vygotsky. Lev Vygotsky was a Russian psychologist who is known for his social development theory. In the social development theory, Vygotsky primarily explains that socialization affects the learning process in an individual. It tries to explain consciousness or awareness as the result of socialization. The social development theory includes 3 major concepts. These are comprised of the role of social interaction in cognitive development, the more knowledgeable other, and the zone of proximal development. Vygotsky believed that social learning precedes development. The more knowledgeable others, or MKO, refers to anyone who has a better understanding or a higher ability level than the learner with respect to a particular task, process, or concept. The zone of proximal development, or ZPD, refers to the difference between what a learner can do without help and what he or she can achieve with guidance and encouragement from a skilled partner. Next theorist is Jerome Bruner. Jerome Bruner is an American cognitive theorist who became known with the spiral curriculum. Spiral curriculum is based on his idea that even very complex topics can be taught to young children if structured and presented in the right way. Bruner's spiral curriculum is an approach to education that involves regularly revisiting the same educational topics over the course of a student's education. Each time the content is revisited, the student gains deeper knowledge of the topic. It has the benefits of reinforcing information over time and using prior knowledge to inform future learning. Following the idea of the spiral curriculum, Bruner presented the idea of 3 modes of representation. These modes of representation refer to the way knowledge is stored in memory. First is inactive. Inactive involves representation of knowledge through physical actions. Second is iconic. Iconic involves representation of knowledge through visual images. Third is symbolic. Symbolic involves the use of words and symbols to describe experiences. Another well-known theorist in education is Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud is an Austrian neurologist who developed the psychoanalytic theory of personality development, which argued that personality is formed through conflicts among three fundamental structures of the human mind: the id, ego, and superego. The id is the primitive and instinctual part of the mind that contains sexual and aggressive drives and hidden memories. The superego operates as a moral conscience. And the ego is the realistic part that mediates between the desires of the id and the superego. Sigmund Freud believed that the nature of the conflicts among the id, ego, and superego change over time as a person grows from child to adult. Specifically, he maintained that these conflicts progress through a series of 5 basic stages, each with a different focus. Oral. In the first stage of personality development, the child gets much satisfaction from putting all sorts of things in its mouth, such as sucking, biting, and breastfeeding. Anal. The libido now becomes focused on the anus, and the child derives great pleasure from defecating. Phallic. Sensitivity now becomes concentrated in the genitals and masturbation becomes a new source of pleasure. Latency. No further psychosexual development takes place during this stage because latent means hidden. And genital. This is the last stage of Freud's psychosexual theory of personality development and begins in puberty. It is a time of adolescent sexual experimentation, the successful resolution of which is settling down in a loving relationship with another person. Freud called his idea the psychosexual theory of development, with each psychosexual stage directly related to a different physical center of pleasure. Another prominent theorist is Benjamin Samuel Bloom. Benjamin Samuel Bloom was an American educational psychologist who first proposed the theory of mastery learning. Mastery learning suggests that the focus of instruction should be the time required for different students to learn the same material. The key elements in mastery learning are: 1. Clearly specifying what is to be learned and how it will be evaluated. 2. Allowing students to learn at their own pace. 3. Assessing student progress and providing appropriate feedback or remediation. And 4. Testing that final learning criterion has been achieved. Bloom also proposed 3 domains of learning. The domains of learning are categorized as cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. Cognitive domain refers to the mental skills. Affective domain refers to the growth in feelings or emotional areas. Psychomotor domain refers to manual or physical skills. Benjamin Bloom also made contributions to the classification of educational objectives. He proposed the Bloom's taxonomy, which is a classification of the different objectives and skills that educators set for their students. It was created to promote higher forms of thinking in education, such as analyzing and evaluating concepts, processes, procedures, and principles, rather than just remembering facts. Bloom's taxonomy consists 6 categories: knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Next theorist is Howard Gardner. Howard Gardner is an American developmental psychologist who proposed the theory of multiple intelligences. The multiple intelligences theory differentiates human intelligence into specific modalities, rather than seeing intelligence as dominated by a single general ability. Howard Gardner identified 8 intelligences. Verbal linguistic intelligence, the ability to learn and use language in written and spoken forms to express oneself. Logical mathematical intelligence, the ability to solve problems logically, to solve mathematical problems and to perform scientific investigations. Musical intelligence, having skill in appreciation, composition, and performance of musical patterns, including the ability to recognize tone, pitch, and rhythm. Bodily kinesthetic intelligence, using mental abilities to coordinate body movements to solve problems. Visual spatial intelligence, being able to recognize and use patterns in a wide or confined space. Interpersonal intelligence, the capacity to understand the desires, motivations, and intentions of other people. Intrapersonal intelligence, the capacity to understand your own fears, feelings, and motivations. Naturalistic intelligence, the ability to explore the environment, and learn about other species. Another famous theorist in education is Erik Erikson. Erik Erikson was a German-American developmental psychologist who developed Freud's psychosexual theory and adapted it into a psychosocial theory. The psychosocial theory identifies the stages that a healthy developing individual should pass through from infancy to late adulthood. According to Erikson, we experience 8 stages of development during our lifespan. Within each stage, there is a dilemma that we must resolve in order to feel a sense of competence and will allow us to develop as a well-adjusted adult. These stages are: trust versus mistrust, ages 0 to 2. In this first stage, infants must learn that adults can be trusted. Autonomy versus shame, ages 2 to 3. The me-do-it stage, children start to make decisions and show preferences of elements in their environment, such as what clothes to wear or what toy they prefer. Initiative versus guilt, ages 4-5. This stage involves children learning to plan and achieve goals involving others. Industry versus inferiority, ages 6-11. In this stage, children start comparing themselves with their peers. Identity versus role confusion, ages 12-18. Students in this stage are asking themselves, who am I and what do I want to do in my life? Intimacy versus isolation, ages 18-40. As students progress into early adulthood, their focus shifts to making and maintaining strong, intimate relationships with others. Generativity versus stagnation, ages 40-65. In middle adulthood, people are concerned with contributing to society either through their work or parenthood. Ego integrity versus despair, ages 65 and up. Those in late adulthood reflect on their lives, feeling a sense of satisfaction or failure. And, who doesn't know Abraham Maslow? Abraham Harold Maslow was an American psychologist who was best known for creating Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a motivational theory in psychology comprising a 5-tier model of human needs, often depicted as hierarchical levels within a pyramid. Needs lower down in the hierarchy must be satisfied before individuals can attend to needs higher up. From the bottom of the hierarchy upwards, the needs are: first is the physiological. These are biological requirements for human survival. Examples include air, food, water, shelter, clothing, warmth, and sleep. Second is safety. Examples include protection from elements, security, order, law, and stability. Third is love and belonging. These are the first of social needs, involving the desire for interpersonal relationships and being part of a group. Examples of these needs include friendship, intimacy, trust, acceptance, receiving and giving affection and love. Fourth is esteem. This includes self-esteem, stemming from dignity, achievement, mastery, and independence, and the desire for reputation or respect from others, including status and prestige. And at the peak is self-actualization. Examples include realizing personal potential, self-fulfillment, and seeking personal growth and peak experiences. Again, here are the prominent educational theorists: Erik Erikson, Abraham Maslow, John Piaget, Benjamin Samuel Bloom, Howard Gardner, Sigmund Freud, Lev Vygotsky, Jerome Bruner.
Don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell for more free let reviewers.